Hello, I'm Don Peppers, and welcome back to Peppers Unplugged. This week, I am in Manama. 2 points if you can guess what country Manama is the capital of. If you guessed Bahrain, you'd be correct. This is Manama, the capital of Bahrain, and we're surrounded by marvelous architecture, construction everywhere. The economy seems to be thriving, like many economies in the Middle East. Everywhere I go, I see construction. And this particular building here is called the Sheraton Complex. It's a hotel, but also a shopping mall with Fendi, Cartier, Armani, all the great Italian designers as well. And we're surrounded everywhere by construction. I mean, you can't go anywhere in the Middle East without seeing a lot of construction. The whole seaport here in Manama seems to be under construction, and everything is being revitalized. The economies in the Middle East are thriving. Bahrain, however, is an ancient country. It's an island country in the Persian Gulf, just off the coast of Arabia. It was settled in the Stone Age, really. Of course, back then, it wasn't all desert and sand. That's climate change. You know, not all climate change is caused by man. The climate really does change by itself, and this used to be a verdant, green land of many palm trees and grass that would grow without irrigation. Back then, Bahrain was part of the Dilmun Empire, which nobody really knows where the Dilmun Empire was based, but there's good evidence that in the 3rd millennium BC, that is from 2000 to 3000 BC, that time frame, Bahrain was part of the Dilmun Empire. There have been settlements that have been excavated from 5,000 years ago here on this island. In the 4th century BC, a Greek general in Alexander's army, Nearchus, came and settled some Greeks here, and the island became known as Telos. And it wasn't until the arrival of Islam in the 7th century AD that the name became Bahrain, which means two waters or two seas, because Bahrain has a wonderful set of springs that have very sweet water. It's known for sweet water, and so it's sweet water next to the salt water, and the name is Bahrain. Now, before I traveled to Bahrain, I traveled to Saudi Arabia, and due to a missed connection, I ended up having to travel through Jeddah, which was right during the Hajj. And actually, I was on a plane from Tunis in Tunisia to Jeddah. The plane was filled with Muslims in their traditional native garbs on their way to their annual pilgrimage to Mecca. And here's a little video I shot of the departure gate in Tunis, and you can see the crowd of pilgrims. It was quite a colorful flight. It was a real experience, a lot of fun, an excellent adventure. I came to Bahrain to give a talk to a convention of fund managers, and it's called the Fund Forum. And I'll tell you, in the wake of the financial disaster, it's almost as if an asteroid had hit the financial world. And if you're in the financial world, you know that some of your friends were just obliterated. But now we're all sitting around and waiting to try to see whether the dust cloud is going to create a nuclear winter for everyone, or whether we'll be able to survive this and begin to go back to business in the near future. But following that talk, I also had a very interesting meeting with the Minister of Culture and Information here in Bahrain. And she's a very energetic, very lively woman, quite the rebel, I think, in the government. I'm not really an expert on Bahraini politics, but I can't imagine she isn't a little bit of a revolutionary. Her goal is to try to set the tone for Bahraini culture so that Bahrainis will respect progress and will go more favorably toward progress rather than resisting change. And if you think about it, the conditions that any society has within its own culture really do either inhibit change and progress or encourage change and progress. I mean, if you have a culture that encourages new ideas and a little bit of risk-taking, that's one kind of culture. Or if you have a culture where children are encouraged to simply get a good job and lock their security in, maybe work for the government or a big company, that's a different kind of culture that's not as progress prone. What's interesting to me about this is that the same kind of statement can be made about corporate culture. I mean, here you have Middle Eastern governments thinking carefully about how to manage the right social environment and national culture, sense of national identity in order to encourage more progress and entrepreneurialism. You ought to be thinking about that for your company as well. What kind of culture do you have in your firm? Do you have a culture that celebrates diversity, diverse perspectives? Do you tolerate dissent? Do you encourage it? Do you welcome disagreement and respectful disagreement in order to create more innovative thinking in your firm? That's the kind of culture that is really progress prone in a company. So this evening I'll attend a reception and museum opening as a guest of the minister, and then tomorrow morning at 5 I get on a plane to head back to the United States. But I intend to come back to Bahrain. I may come back many times, and I hope in the future when I come back I'll see that the Minister of Culture and Information has been just as successful at constructing a progress prone entrepreneurial culture as her country has been at constructing a marvelous and fascinating skyline.